In my opinion, the time to achieve that tryst with destiny wholly as well as substantially has come now. But we need to change the gears. We need to change the drivers of public policy. So the days ahead are such that whether we like it or not, technology, transparency, and trust together will drive the implementation of the policy framework and policy that we frame with certainty. The whole world is looking towards us, not necessarily because we have the Vedas or Upanishads, or you have Professor Sharma as the Vice-Chancellor, or people of eminence in great number here. They are looking at you primarily because we are one of the largest market for the nations of the world in all sectors of economy, including, of course, defense, in which we are now aspiring to become not only self-reliant, but a net export country. Mention has also been made about the politicians. Of course, they are at the helm of the affairs, along with all of us, to plan for us and deliver the promise they make to their electorates. I am also witness to the time when it was said that democracy can become elected dictatorship. Not me, but one of the greatest parliamentarian, Lord Helsam, made a mention of this when I was on sabbatical from IIT Delhi, where I was a professor, to University of Birmingham in 1984, I'm sure it was. I wrote in my diary, perhaps it applies more on India than United Kingdom, but Lord Helsam was very clear in his mind that democracy becomes elected dictatorship if you do not make your elected representatives accountable to what they have promised and what they are delivering now. Mention has also been made about COVID-19, of course, about which we all are so aware. That roti, kapda, makan, of course, is important, but what is important is good quality air and good quality water to drink. Someone asked me when I was professor at IIT, what is the root cause of poverty? Root cause of poverty. I said the root cause of poverty, first of all, try to understand, never kills anybody. My father used to say, you will never die if you are hungry, you will die if you have overeaten or if you have eaten something wrong. तो पॉवर्टी हमको नहीं मारता है सही मायने में extraordinary consumption and unmindful consumption. Poverty is not the killer, but the killer is air, of course. Bad quality air, bad quality water, adulterated food, adulterated milk, adulterated sweets even, about which we are so accustomed to. They are the killers. And therefore today, when we think of roti, kapda and makan, we also think about the new drivers now. We have to now understand we are in a new age, I said in the beginning. And I said this because the new age demands a major game change in terms of how we plan our policy, what we plan, and we have to keep on forefront some key words around which the new policies are to be planned, in my view, for India of tomorrow. I really coined the word Trinity of the new policy planning and execution. Trinity of new policy planning and execution for a nation like ours. And the Trinity revolves around three cardinal principles. The first one is what I call integrity. Second one, accountability. And the third, most important, is what I call sustainability. So the policy, what you call the new India's policy drivers for tomorrow have to revolve around this trinity of integrity, accountability, and sustainability. I put the sustainability at the end because I thought the cause of sustainability also requires integrity, truthfulness, honesty, sincerity of purpose, deeper understanding of the context in which we plan, and of course, the commitment and conviction with which we go about not only ourselves, but taking the whole nation with us for implementing what we have planned. So integrity, accountability, and sustainability, in my opinion, have to be on the forefront to plan for policy planning for tomorrow's India. When I visited China in 1984, along with the delegation of the defense scientists of this country, I was not a defense scientist, I was a professor at IIT, and two civilians were involved in that group. One of them was myself, another one was a professor from Indian Institute of Science, Professor Sundaranayagam. As we went to China in 1984, I asked the Chinese, you are jumping on your feet, so much of euphoria, so much of enthusiasm. It was exactly what you have here in India today at that time. And they were telling me, just give us 5 years, we will beat Japan, because Japan was one of the greatest economy at that time, the leader in technology and leader in science and technology together. Chinese were saying, just give us 5 years, we'll beat Japan. मैंने कहा क्यों मजाक करते हो? आपके पास तो दूध भी नहीं है चाय में डालने के लिए, ब्रेड नहीं है, आपके पास तो आलू और वेजिटेबल्स भी नहीं है, और आप कह रहे हो 5 साल के अंदर आप जापान को बीट कर दोगे. You have just become free because Mao had just died at that time. They said, sir, we need no more than 5 years. 5 years later, when I visit America, I find almost everywhere in every big store, you find such and such of Japan made in China, such and such of Japan made in China. And there was hardly anything I could buy which was not made in China. Question is, when you look at what you want to do, you have to plan how you can compress the time frame and achieve with clarity and certainty what you have desired to achieve through your policy planning. China did it. Of course, they are not democracy. I know that I'm giving you an example of a country which has no democracy even today, despite the fact it was 1984. I went to Japan in 2010 when I was Vice-Chancellor of Delhi Technological University. The Japanese, this was Tokyo Institute of Technology, professors there told me the 21st century belongs to India. मैंने समझा ये मुझे खुश करने वाले हैं, मेरे को खुश करने के लिए बोल रहे हैं. मैंने कहा, how do you say 21st century belongs to India? Are you sure? Are you serious about it? They said, yes, we are sure as well as serious because you know how to manage diversity. 21st century requires management of diversity, and no one other than India knows how to manage diversity. This was the faith Japan had in India at that time. Ladies and gentlemen, we are a country of great diversity. We have learned how to manage this diversity, and we have to now invent and innovate new ways of managing this diversity to deliver the great promise that we are making to Mother India. At the dawns of our independence, at the midnight, we made a tryst with destiny. And we said at that time, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru himself said, that we are going to achieve this tryst with destiny, not only wholly, but substantially. In my opinion, the time to achieve that tryst with destiny wholly as well as substantially has come now. But we need to change the gears. We need to change the drivers of public policy. I was looking at democracy, which Sir also mentioned. I asked myself what democracy is. When I was a child, I was told democracy is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. I still remember that. Abraham Lincoln has said that. I look at the government today, or even the government which during the last 70 years of my life, and I find that yes, we had government of the people, we had government by the people, but we should ask now, is it government for the people? The time, in my opinion, has come where the democracy in true sense has to deliver the promise of the founding fathers of this definition of parliamentary democracy, which said you need government not only by the people and of the people, but government for the people. And therefore, in our policy planning, we need to go around and find what is that which needs to be done to make in true sense the governance of tomorrow to be government for the people. And the minute you underline for the people, the whole lot of mindset and ideology changes in terms of framing the policies for today as well as tomorrow. I know that we are a country of great diversity, and I know that we have managed this diversity from time immemorial, not just today. We have been a country of diversity. We have allowed all kind of vichardharas, all kind of philosophies to exist, including eat, drink, and be merry, what they call the Charvak philosophy in those days. But we also ensured that ultimately the righteousness should prevail. And if need be, we are prepared to wage a war for that. The war of Ramayana, and the war of Mahabharata were not ordinary wars. They were basically when there is a total breakdown of public and professional morality, when the whole society becomes so insane that it cannot defend itself, then only God Almighty comes and showed the way for us how to lead this nation. Yada yada hi dharmas glanir bhavati varta avichyanam sadhunam binashaya cha duskritam. Every day we go to the temple and say, hey Ishwar, aap aa jao. But if the Ishwar comes, my friend, he will come only when we fail to deliver our own promise that we make to our great nation. And if he comes for destroying the Vinashaya and Avichyanam Sadhunam, establishing the righteousness. But God also knows that righteousness cannot prevail unless it is sustained by the society for which you have won this war. And I need not go in great detail on that aspect. Let me give you just quickly a few indicators of the change which people like we want. I want the healthcare to be redefined and re-understood. Our policies merely of giving insurance to the needy, or for that reason, even inventing the best of the medicines, or establishing super specialty hospitals, or revitalizing government hospitals is not going to make a big difference. India of tomorrow has to be healthy India. India of tomorrow must be such that people have a healthy body, healthy mind, and a happy soul. I'm using the word happy soul, not healthy soul. Soul is always healthy. So you have to now look at what policies you require for healthcare to ensure that India is inhabited by people who are physically fit, mentally healthy, and their soul is also happy. And you need to decide and define whether you want to do it by establishing great hospitals and selling great medicines, or even giving them the comfort of the insurance, or you want to understand how it was done. I looked into the Ayurveda and find out how the healthcare was understood at that time. In Ayurveda, they were very clear that the purpose of healthcare is to make you strong and immune so that you do not fall prey to any medicine, or for that reason any healthcare of the kind to go to super specialty hospital in Gurgaon, or for that reason here in Delhi. And our forefathers for that reason designed and decided their total policy framework around ensuring that people are healthy up to the age of 100 years. Take me seriously, my mother lived for 101 years without need of medicines, without even a single time when I have to file actually my expenses to IIT or Delhi College of Engineering, where I was principal for 20 years, or DTU or Rajiv Gandhi Pradhyogiki Vishwavidyalaya, where I met Sri Bhargava Sahab and Baswan Sahab. In fact, our entire healthcare was planned to ensure you don't have to go to hospital except under the odd circumstances when you are knocked off on the road by somebody and you need surgery or you need intensive care unit, then only you will go to hospital. My dear friends, today the hospitals are more crowded than the railway stations. And we have to understand what is that change which we need to bring in. Food adulteration, even giving injections to the cows and buffaloes for milk, injecting even vegetables to produce higher yield actually, and destroying all this, and through hybridization, creating in fact that condition by which I and you will remain always praying to the doctors and falling prey to the insurances and healthcare. That's not something I want. I want a basic and fundamental policy change in our planning for health of our people to ensure that people are immune and healthy. Take me seriously also. I never, ever in my life had any fever. Virus says, do not touch me. They come and say, good evening, sir, or good morning, sir, we are at a wrong place. This is how, in fact, India's healthcare and health system was conceived. The food was not merely to fetch the hunger, but it was, in fact, the sufficient condition to maintain a healthy body and your healthy mind also at the same time. The righteousness, the prayers, they were to ensure your soul becomes happy. And happy soul always supports you, gives you the right ideas, your intuition, your imagination, your intellect. Then the trinity of these three faculty, they work together to give you the right inspiration to work for you and for your people. Sustainability suddenly has become more and more important. Believe it or not, the whole world today is planning for new policies and programs. In fact, there are tremendous amount of excitement in Europe as well as nations around the world, including the developing countries, where sustainability today is in the forefront of the policy planning. And that is where I think the future lies. People like us must echo this in our corridors of power, as well as in the campuses of the schools, colleges, and universities, that sustainability has to be now the benchmark and platform on which we will launch our new policy. Only yesterday, one of my dreams has come true. I was thinking how the solar power, currently which we are so proud of course, is still having solar cells of 16 or 18% efficiency, while we could have pushed them with our power of science and might of technology to the level of 98%. We are satisfied currently with 16 or 18%. Just imagine if solar cell could become 98% efficient, you would be able to produce surplus energy not only for your own need but for the needs of the whole world. That's the kind of future that lies. Only yesterday the news came, and this also answered my anxiety. In Gurugram, from where I have to pass almost every weekend, I saw high-rise corporate buildings having glass wall on either side. I said, "Ye kya ho raha hai?" And yesterday's news was that tomorrow's glass panels, transparent panel, will become solar panels for tomorrow. Just imagine the kind of technology and path-breaking science that is in store to solve our problems of tomorrow. All our pollution will be wiped out completely. And I'm praying for the day when I go to Yamuna for the Chhat Puja, I throw a few molecules like this, the pollution will roll like a carpet, go to the other side, and there a truck is waiting to take it to that factory to reprocess it, because that pollution contains heavy metals, precious metals, many of the dissolved gases, and also actually a whole lot of materials, including carbon, hydrogen, sulfur, and so on. That's the promise. And believe it or not, this is going to happen. Question is, do you take your own call of circular economy seriously and plan for sustainability on the strength of new policies and programs for the circular economy, of which India was among the first few countries to really create such a big awareness and understanding. I belong to Birmingham University and take tremendous amount of pride that when the Prime Minister of UK went to COP26 at Glasgow last year, he traveled in the hydrogen-powered car, and the car was commissioned and invented by University of Birmingham. India of tomorrow, in my opinion, must take the policy pronouncements from our politicians seriously. They get the ideas from the God, it appears to me, and these gods could be no one other than Dr. Baswanji or people like you who whisper in their ears some great ideas, they pronounce it, and we have to take it seriously and implement it. India of tomorrow, in my opinion, with the science and technology policy of the kind that we require science for the people, just like governments for the people. We have to look at science not only to make great corporates and people rich, but we need to now look at the science and technology by which the problem of inequality, problem of hunger, problem of unhappiness and inefficiency could be solved together. And we also require science and technology of tomorrow by which we would be able to wipe out corruption. When I was Vice-Chancellor of Rajiv Gandhi Pradyogiki Vishwavidyalaya, sir made a mention in 1999, there was a conference on information technology. Someone from the audience, at that time the understanding of IT was very small. Only we were doing medical transcription and few other businesses at that time. From the audience, somebody asked, what would IT do for us or for the country? मैंने मंत्री जी से कहा, he was sitting next to me, the Minister of IT, आप जवाब दीजिए. बोला साहब वाइस चांसलर साहब बैठे हैं तो हम तो जवाब दे नहीं सकते, आपको देना चाहिए. तो ठीक है. I gave the answer that the IT will make the mafia bankrupt. IT will make the mafia bankrupt and government treasury would be full of money. Look at today. Government treasuries are full of money. Mafia is running around here and there. Of course, it still may be minting money, but I tell you the capability of the digital technology in which we have landed ourselves to is such that there would be no escape than to chant Satyamev Jayate, but also the second part of it that said Nanritam, which means truth and truth alone shall prevail, not any trace of untruth. This is what it says. Satyamev Jayate Nanritam Satyene Pantha Yatato Devayana. That's what exactly is from the Upanishad. So the days ahead are such that whether we like it or not, technology, transparency, and trust together will drive the implementation of the policy framework and policy that we frame with certainty. Let me finish by saying that the days ahead are surely very bright. The future belongs to us, but we need to change gears both in our policy planning and the samarpan with which we work together. Let me also tell you that not alone me or alone the government or alone the bureaucracy cannot deliver this promise. Promise is delivered only in a democracy when the people are with the policy, head, heart, and soul. And that's the toughest condition, in fact, in democracy to take people on board, not only in policy planning, but in policy implementation. When you implement the policy, which is government for the people, and infuse that sense of confidence in the people at large, that this policy is for your larger collective good, then you take the people with you. The leadership makes a difference, but the public awareness and mass movement attached to achieving the goals with clarity and certainty makes a big difference. In the days to come, leadership would matter, but what would matter whether you are able to drive the people along with you and take them to march to the summit. When you take the salt like this at Sabarmati and say that, look, you cannot really legislate salt. And Mahatma Gandhi understood this more than anybody, that it is not the leadership, but the public movement that ultimately leads you to great success in achieving the goals with clarity and certainty. Same was the realization of Martin Luther King when he led the movement in America to ensure that racial discrimination finishes for good. He also understood that leadership alone cannot achieve the goal unless there is a mass public awareness and support. My own judgment is that we are in good times, and the good news is around. And this good news currently is being echoed on the strength of economy. There are people on record to say that India has become even the superpower of economy. There, of course, we know that we are the fifth largest economy of the world. And as a Vice-Chancellor, I know that you don't have to wait for long. You would be even number 2 economy of the world and even number 1. China would be number 1 for some time. You will be able to overtake China and you would be number 1 economy of the world. Why not later than 2031? And it can even be brought earlier. But it all depends what you want to achieve. Suppose I become 10 trillion or 20 trillion economy. Does it mean that I only want to look at gross domestic product as the measure of my economy? Or I want to look at how the people at large are benefited by this economy? Am I able to narrow down the inequality, the great inequality that I have? Whether I'm able to create the layers of happiness, layers of satisfaction in the people at large, and do I create a country where everyone says that I'm proud to be an Indian, not just because we have to say this, but because this nation cares for me. This nation provides the governance for the people, and this nation is the place which is the heaven on earth, what Lord Rama said, Janani Janbhuma Swargadapi Gariyashir Hridej. So ladies and gentlemen, the great times are ahead. I'm not for becoming number 1 economy of the world per se and maintain and retain the great inequality that I have. I'm not here for allowing the the engines of economic growth to continue the way they have continued so far. The entire growth is around what you call urbanization. And we are told that by 2030, 50% population of India will live in cities, in urban city. We are not yet looking into what India really needs to go rural with scientific mind and with high-tech solutions to create India of our bliss, where everyone would have something good to do for himself as well as for his community. I grew up as a child when nobody was unemployed. Take me seriously in those days. If you say that my son has been employed somewhere, the people of the society will think that you have not enough to feed your own children. Why should they go and become somebody's knocker? That was the feeling at that time. My father was in service of the government. And whenever he would visit the village, people will say, "Acha, aap naukri karte hain." That was the time. When India, everybody was enterprising, everybody was engaged into productive work to ensure that you have plenty to eat and live a happy life. Everybody has enough time to make his soul happy, keep his body fit, mind fit up to the age of 100 years. Ladies and gentlemen, I am for that time. And I'm sure that time is not far off, provided the people of India could be awakened to the dire need for changing the policy drivers for policy planning and creating that commitment, conviction, courage, and confidence, along with the Trinity of integrity, accountability, and sustainability to be the hallmark of our policy planning and implementation.
हेलो सर, आई एम कृष्णा। गुड इवनिंग एवरीवन। सो आपने एक्चुअली एक बात बोली थी, रोटी कपड़ा एंड मकान, राइट? वेदर रोटी कपड़ा मकान इज़ द कंसर्न। आपने ये भी बोला था कि पॉवर्टी से जो है लोग नहीं मरते हैं, मोर देन दैट कि जो आप खाते हैं उससे मरते हैं। बट डोंट यू थिंक कि पॉवर्टी से ज़्यादा मरते हैं? बिकॉज आई आई बिलीव कि व्हेन जब लोअर मिडिल क्लास फैमिलीज़ की बात आती है, पॉवर्टी तो वही है ना, राइट? सो उसके अंदर मेंटली लोग मेंटल इलनेस का शिकार ज़्यादा होते हैं। एंड व्हेन यू सी कि हम पॉलिसीज़ बना रहे हैं जस्ट टू डेवलप इंडिया अच्छे से, बट उसके लिए आर वी फुल्ली प्रिपेयर्ड? बिकॉज एजुकेशन इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एंड आई डोंट थिंक कि एजुकेशन का हमारा जो नींव रखा गया है ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट से जब आए हैं, आई डोंट थिंक कि वो उतना मजबूत है, राइट? Every time we studied about how Babur, who was Babur, Babur का बेटा हुमायूं, हुमायूं का अकबर, that was the at one time this was the ad, right? But किसी ने अशोका के बारे में नहीं बताया। No one wants to do that research। अभी अगर आप स्कूल के अंदर जाके देखें, बिकॉज एवरीवन इज लुकिंग कि जो भी किताबों में लिखा गया है एनसीईआरटी में सभी वही पढ़ रहे हैं। बट जब हम डेवलपमेंट की बात करते हैं, एटलीस्ट मेंटली प्रिपेयर होने से पहले हमारे को जो सिखाया जा रहा है स्कूल में, दैट शुड बी मोर पावरफुल।
I fully agree with you that we need to take poverty seriously. नदी के जल को स्ट्रेट अवे पीने के बाद जो आत्मा को शांति मिलती थी, that is you cannot get today by from the refrigerated RO water which you have in your house. And therefore I think the reason I mentioned it was that pollution is a much bigger killer compared to poverty. But I'm not here to keep the layers of poverty for my people, because I understand that this inequality in economic development is creating poverty. I tell you how. And there is a paper on record, I'm sure all of you might be perhaps aware. Our development, which is now scoring 7%, 8% of economic resurgence, takes out people out of poverty. It does, because every economic development has to result into taking people out of poverty. I've come out of poverty myself. I was not very rich. In fact, I was a poor man. My father expired in 1961 when I was only 13 years of age. And he left nothing whatsoever for us. He said, पढ़े जो पूत कपूत तो कादन संचे and पूत saput to kadan sanche. That was the kind of philosophy. So we had no money, but from that only education and through our support of the society, I am standing before you. Having said this, let me also say very clearly that it's very important for us to understand that economic growth takes people out of poverty, but it also pushes people into the poverty. How it happens. And this is not my paper, this is the paper of one of the former IAS officer of our country at Duke University. Name is, I think, Krishnan. And there he says that 14% people are taken out of poverty each year, 11% are pushed into the poverty. And we looked at the reasons for pushing back into poverty. He said there are two major reasons. One is education, another one is healthcare. He did not elaborate, but when I looked at it, I did some research how it is happening. I went to my village and asked my friend, where is your father? Your father was of my age. We went to school together. बोला साहब वो तो ऊपर चले गए. मैं क्या हुआ कि साहब उनको कैंसर हो गया और उसके बदले में हमारी 2-4 बीघा जमीन थी वो भी बिक गई और हम फादर को नहीं बचा पाए. आज हम लैंडलेस लेबरर हैं. And he was basically working for a landlord there. So healthcare has become so damn expensive today that will drive people into the poverty, and there may be millions of people happening in that. Second is education. When you send somebody for higher education, you charge hefty fees today. India showed to the world the way to commercialize education. And at the end of the day, after about 5-6 lakhs of rupees, which person has borrowed from the bank, if the son or daughter does not get a job, she becomes unemployed or he becomes unemployed for years to come, the fellow is pushed into the poverty. जमीन को गिरवी रख करके लोग अपने बच्चों को मेरे देश में पढ़ाते हैं और ये मेरे देश की खासियत है because here we will do everything possible to raise our children and educate them in the best schools in the world. But education has to now understand the importance and responsibility of ensuring that those who are educated, they do not fall back into the poverty along with their family, likewise the healthcare. These two examples, in my opinion, may suffice for the time being for you to give the window of my mind. I have, of course, my own grand plans. I'm not a policy planner, but I'm a thinker and I'm a thought leader. And I think that the game changer indicators and drivers must be identified and implemented in time before a great damage is done to a country. Our current inequality is as high as it is in America. My son is in America. I visited him in December. I said, I want to study your country's economic models, and I was surprised that bottom 50% people in India today possess around 5% wealth of the nation. In America, you should not be surprised when I say that only 2.8% of Americans below that bottom 50% possess the wealth of America. Inequality is as high as it is in America. How it is? We are a populous country. America is not a populous country driven by science and technology policy. But the models of economic growth that we have adopted are more American than Indian, in my opinion. And that's why the economic inequality which they created in their country, be created in our country. And if we continue to follow these models of economic growth, the inequality will never finish, and we shall continue to debate whether roti, kapda and makan, poverty and corruption and population, how to deal with these problems. My own judgment is to change the gears and say, go rural, with scientific mind and technology solutions and create millions and millions of jobs in those areas where it matters. And then the country would not only be prosperous, it will have what you call inclusive growth, and you will have the nation proud of its people. The population will become a great asset and resource for a nation like ours, which the whole world is recognizing today. Any other questions, Franz? But you wish to add anything, sir, on this? Or please.
Yeah, thank you for the talk. You have mentioned about health, and then you also mentioned about food, purity of food. How do you see a role of GM technology and GM crops in ensuring sustainability and security, food security? Thank you.
Sir, what you see as the future of green crop insurance and green technologies for food security?
As far as genetically modified food grains are concerned, we have been a little cautious. We spent a lot of time with cotton. Now, over the years, cotton production has increased considerably. The current debate is about GM mustard. Now, these are called, Franken foods and we're fiddling with nature. Sooner or later, we may have to embrace technology after doing our due diligence. So the mustard issue has now come up. These are early days. It's a position paper has been prepared by the Ministry of Agriculture. It will be debated nationally. Now, these are early days. We look at the experience of other countries. So before we plunge into GM mustard, there will be a due diligence exercise which has to be done.
I wish to express few words of thanks. First is to the audience. Kindly, I assure the speakers that it is the quality which matters. The number was small, maybe because of the post-COVID effect. Otherwise, the question and answers have shown that the quality of audience was far better. Thank you, audience. My second thanks is to the management of this India Habitat Center and their program division. They gave us full cooperation. They were even prepared to broadcast this live, but there was a problem that audience cannot put question answer. So we decided that we will not put it to live, but it will be broadcast on video on YouTube and other channels. It has been recorded. It has been recorded, ladies and gentlemen, by Sangam Talks management. I am grateful to them because Sangam Talks come out with videos, 2 or 3 talks every week. If you happen to look at them, they are very interesting. They tell us about our Indian civilization and the hard work India is putting up. And the last and not the least, my thanks to the speakers. They gave us so much of time and energy in sparing their time to be with us this evening. Thank you very much, sir.